If you want to learn more about this sport that we love but don't really understand, Football Outsiders Almanac 2019 is available now. It's basically the Bill James baseball abstract in 2019. So much information in there. If you want to get informed fast, Football Outsiders Almanac 2019 is available now. Aaron Schatz with us, and we go bang, bang with shots here as fast as we can. Teams we think, thank you for joining us, teams that you think will not make the playoffs that people are expecting in the playoffs. Give us to them.
First of all, Chicago, because defense is much less consistent from year to year than offense. This is how we projected Jacksonville falling apart last year. Their offense would have to improve significantly to make up for what happens if their defense is only fourth or fifth best in the league rather than number one like it was a year ago.
Who else? Anybody else that would surprise people?
Baltimore lost on defense the second most amount of talent over replacement level of any team in the last 15 years after only the 2009 Tampa Bay Bucks. And yes, that is after the fact we adjust for the fact that they added Earl Thomas.
Mike is concerned about Aaron Rodgers. Should he be?
I think everybody's concerned about the fact that Rodgers' stats have dropped in the last couple of years. You're hoping that LaFleur is going to turn that offense around, but you don't want him to run the same kind of offense he ran in Tennessee because it was too run-heavy. They ran into stacked boxes too much. They didn't spread the field enough. You want Rodgers to be playing with an offense that's going to spread the field with more wide receivers.
What's the most interesting thing about Zeke's holdout to you?
The whole point of running back value, and is Ezekiel Elliott an exception to the rule that says that running backs are fairly easily replaceable and aren't actually as valuable as we've always thought they were throughout football history?
Did you decide to answer half of that question descending into a swimming pool?
That's the other interesting thing about his holdout is the whole Cabo thing. Like, wouldn't you rather just stay in Cabo for the whole year rather than getting banged up by defensive linemen all year?
That was brilliantly done. I mean, seriously, he just goes straight ahead, full steam ahead with football.
Well, he didn't hear the sounds that we heard. Teams we think are better than people think.
Pittsburgh. People talk about them losing Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown, but they already lost Le'Veon Bell last year, and they played at a level that usually is commensurate with a playoff team. So they lost Antonio Brown, but they still have a strong pass rush, a strong offensive line, strong receivers behind him, and they're probably going to be a playoff team this year.
Everybody! Anyone else?
I like Detroit, surprisingly. They've added a lot of talent this offseason, and there's a lot of bounce-back possibility for a team that people forget was 9-7 just 2 years ago.
Detroit?
He likes the Lions, Dan.
Why do you like the Lions?
Second year, Matt Patricia.
I was surprised, too, when it came out of my equation. I was like, okay, that's surprising. But the defense should be better in the second year of the new scheme. They added talent. They added Jesse James was really good in Pittsburgh last year. T.J. Hawkinson at tight end. Marvin Jones missed half the year with an injury. They should have a fairly easy schedule. They may be a playoff contender. I'm not saying they're a Super Bowl contender because they're not, but they may be a playoff contender.
And I cannot ignore the elephant in the room any longer. Do you have a cordless phone that you're keeping in business here that you keep pressing your face against? Or do you? What is happening with your telephone?
I'm so sorry. iPhone is not a good phone. I apologize. It's the Apple people.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Shots. Thank you. Shots fired.
That is not good. I agree with you, Aaron. I agree with you, Aaron. Android all the way.
Roy, you ruin every group chat. Stop it.
So?
You do. I can't even text you, Roy. I have had a lot of news that I try to send to people, and I can't get them to you from my iPad.
Apple is evil.
The team in the NFL with the best depth, according to Aaron Schatz, is?
The Philadelphia Eagles.
Their offensive line 2 years ago, as good as any I've seen. You and I have talked about this. 2 years ago, just mauled everyone, including the Patriots, at the end. They were hurt last year, right? Because I didn't even understand what I was watching last year from that offensive line.
Yeah, they had some injuries on the offensive line last year, and they're not sure Brandon Brooks is ready for the start of the season this year, but their offensive line should still be good. And remember, their first-round pick is their backup offensive tackle. He's not even going to play this year if everyone plays help.
If there's a quarterback from last year's rookie class that could be better than Baker Mayfield, who is that quarterback?
A quarterback from last year's rookie class who could be better. I mean, if Lamar Jackson came along as a passer, as much as you would want him to come along, and you add his rushing ability, it could be more valuable. But it's really hard to see a point where Baker Mayfield is not the number one quarterback from last year's class.
Fantasy people who are high on Odell Beckham, what would you tell them?
We actually have Odell Beckham a little lower than conventional wisdom, and the reason why is because we figure Cleveland will spread the ball around, especially to Jarvis Landry. Jarvis Landry gets his targets, and those guys are buddies. It's not like Beckham's going to get angry if they're throwing the ball to Landry.
Football Outsiders Almanac 2019 is available now. Did you have any thoughts on Tom Brady's extension?
Yeah, it's interesting that it's basically for 1 year, and then they can't franchise him, and he becomes a free agent. And it's really hard to imagine him with another uniform. But if any team is going to give up on him thinking he's too old and let him play elsewhere, it's Belichick and the Patriots. It would be really strange to see, but this kind of sets up for the possibility that Brady plays elsewhere in 2020.
That's crazy. You can't be serious. You can't be. Schatz, you can't be serious.
It seems crazy, right? But that's how it sets up. That's the fact that they void the 2020 and 2021 years in this contract sets that he's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. We all think he'll just re-sign with the Patriots if he wants to play at age 43. But this sets it up as a possibility that he could leave. It sounds crazy, but this sets it up as a possibility.
The Jets?
The Jets are going to be better than people think.
I'm talking about Brady. Huh?
Yeah, he was talking about Brady in a year going to the Jets.
Well, no, because Darnold should improve this year. I don't think the Jets would be the team that the Houston Texans, people have said, but they've got Deshaun Watson. It would need to be a team that really didn't have a quarterback.
I would trade Darnold for Brady right now, straight up.
Go ahead and sit in the penalty box.
What? Oh, my God.
Aaron Schatz, Football Outsiders Almanac 2019. It is available now if you want it. What would you say is the most interesting thing or the thing that surprised you most? You said you were surprised by the Detroit Lions. What are some of the things in the book that people will find that might surprise them?
That we don't have Cleveland as high as conventional wisdom, that just how high Chicago was in takeaways last year, which tends to regress towards the mean, and just how badly Mike Tanier cracks on the Washington Redskins in the Washington Redskins chapter.
Aaron, they have arguably the best wide receiving core in the league, arguably the best defensive line in the league, a second-year quarterback maturing under an offense that he was explosive in Baker Mayfield, a deep running back core. Why would you not be as high on the Cleveland Browns as everyone else is reasonably being as a Browns fan?
First of all, offensive line. Offensive line is a problem. Second of all, the defense we see regressing. They were very high in takeaways last year. That tends to regress. There are injury possibilities. People think they have the best defensive line because they assume Olivier Vernon will be healthy, but looking at the last couple of years, it's kind of hard to assume that Olivier Vernon will be healthy. They also don't have great depth. So Cleveland can't take a lot of injuries. If they don't have a lot of injuries, they should be really good. But you can't go into a season presupposing that you're not going to have a lot of injuries.
Bah.
So you've got Football Outsiders Almanac 2019 on one side, and you've got bah at the other. So you go ahead and decide which argument you prefer, America, because Aaron Schatz, all of a sudden, Mike loved his book, loved his information, loved his numbers until he said the Browns, people are too high on them.
Yeah, he's a kook.
All right, we got to let him go. I'm sorry, Aaron. We got to let you go on that note. I don't think we'll ever be talking to you again.
My phone apologizes also.